Hello, I'm Dean Martin with Transmission Digest. Welcome to the TranStar Industry Studios here at Babcock's Media.
We're sitting here with Rick Basta. I'd like to talk about your operation today and how it differs from what you had done years and years ago. One thing I did want to talk about, though, was the mixture of the business back then. Did you just do transmission or did you do other work?
Well, when I started in the business, we were a full general repair facility that specialized with transmissions as well. Transmissions were seasonal. Obviously in Cleveland, we were hoping for snow and weather. That lasted through the winter into the midsummer, and then it started thinning out the work. So we had to look for that other opportunities. We did air conditioning work through the summer until the fall. It worked out pretty well for us. But as the transmissions evolved and they became more of a specialty, more of an opportunity, we kind of phased out general repair, definitely air conditioning work, and went solely into transmission rebuilding.
It was such a different part of the business, it was kind of tough to do it all unless you had the operation to do so.
It was focus on one thing and do it well.
Right. Which brings us to today. TransColonial Auto Service. You acquired this when?
In 2008, I purchased and acquired Colonial Auto Service as part of a venture where I took over his operation plus his building, and we incorporated Transmission Kings with Colonial Auto, hence TransColonial Auto.
Now, Colonial Auto was a full service general repair.
General repair. They also had a used car business, which we didn't do anything with.
Okay. From a size standpoint, your building here is pretty good size. Did you notice the big difference between your other place and this one?
My second facility in Bedford Heights was 6,500 square foot. When I moved into this building, they were utilizing 10,000 square foot of the building, which is 20,000 square foot. And we outfitted the final 10,000 square foot for the transmission facility, which was still 3,500 square foot more than I had operating before.
From an employee standpoint, you had a pretty good mixture of employees. Some employees doing general repair, but then others that just did transmission work, and you tried to maintain that.
Yeah, by separating the facility, we had the back half transmissions, we had the front half general repair. So we had a very good client for general repair services, and we also had a very good following for transmission repair and wholesale accounts such as dealerships and other shops. When
you acquired Colonial Auto, they did general repair. Did they do all types of general repair?
Correct. General repair, in my opinion, is everything mechanical other than transmissions.
Okay.
And that's how we did it.
Yeah, I noticed you have a front end rack and a lot of other things.
Tires, alignments, maintenance, fuel service, suspension work, brake work, diagnostic work.
From a merger standpoint, was it difficult to merge Transmission Kings into Colonial Auto?
We ran it as two separate entities, so the general work would come in, we would treat it as general repair work.
Right.
And the transmission work that was referred, we would treat it as transmission work with the emphasis of looking over the full vehicles, because we weren't just fixing a transmission and shipping it out the door anymore. Everything was taken care of.
And since you were doing maintenance work, oil changes and so on, that probably led to other more involved work.
Correct.
As well. So you did a fair amount of oil changes and other routine maintenance.
Right.
And that would certainly help. The equipment that you had to have, of course, was different than what you needed at Transmission King. And doing that type of general repair, the more types you do, the more equipment that you need.
Right. Well, we invested heavily in front-end machines, tire equipment. Buying the best seemed to hold up and work the best. A lot of the equipment necessary for general repair I bought with the facility.
Gotcha.
So there was a lot of specialized equipment that basically came with the company that I bought.
Right.
And in the maintenance business, there's an accumulation of flushing and maintenance machines, and which pretty much is where we're at right now.
I would imagine doing general repair and transmission, your car counts, for instance, has to be substantially different than when you were just at Transmission King, and that car count actually bleeding over from general repair work to transmission work is beneficial.
Yes.
But the average repair order, because a lot of general repair is not high dollar, certainly affected your ARO. But I imagine you still track both types.
We averaged, when I first took over the facility with both shops running hard, an average of 80 cars a week. And I don't have the exact numbers, which was just transmission.
But the whole thing is that's substantially higher than just a normal transmission shop. So it was certainly beneficial moving into the general repair business.
Correct. And that sustained slower time.
Right. From a difficulty standpoint, did you find it really tough to adapt to the general repair, or were you able to move into it fairly easily?
I adapted pretty well considering I started with it. And there are certain routines that are very familiar, same with transmission repairs, being a routine diagnosis occasionally.
Right.
Same with general repair. So you get familiar with the most common things, and they come and go just like transmission repair.
Right. And not to mention, since a car is one big computer now,
Yes.
things that you would normally deal with general repair transcend over to transmission, vice versa.
Correct.
Do you notice a lot of difficulties dealing with a car overall than just dealing with the transmission?
Well, we find out, especially with transmissions, if the engine performance isn't proper, if there's failures throughout the systems, it's going to affect the way the transmission operates as well. So the logical progression was to go into general repair business to be able to fix the complete car and correct the problems, not just one piece of it.
Moving into general repair, things such as scanners, or even having to get on the internet and sign up for certain internet programs, I imagine that was a necessity as well.
Well, with transmissions, we had the typical ATSG, ATRA, and whatever sources we had for information, which was great. But with general repair, you're more into all data and Mitchell's and Identifix and 4 or 5 other components that are absolute information in order to get the job repaired.
Right. But the extent of time that you have to devote, because before you were just dealing with transmission diagnostics, now you're dealing with all vehicle diagnostics. I imagine you're spending a fair amount of time on the computer as opposed to what you did.
Yeah, more time than you would really appreciate.
The employees that you have, you still, again, try to keep somebody that's doing general repair on that and somebody that's doing transmissions on transmissions.
Yeah, my business evolved that our general repair is more of our focus at this point. We do a considerable amount of transmission repair.
Right.
And we search for ASE certified technicians. Whenever we find one, we'll grab them.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine training is even more imperative today because of the volume, the proliferation of transmissions we have to deal with.
Correct.
But it's also on the general repair side, all the different computer systems, that requires training as well.
And there are certain systems that you just need to avoid so that you don't end up with more troubles than that.
I notice you have a normal mixture of cars, normal years, foreign and domestic, but I see you also have a fair amount of antique vehicles. I'm looking at a '59 Buick. You seem to do a fair amount of that.
I've become known as Cleveland Classic guy.
The Cleveland Classic guy.
And I don't call them antiques, I call them classics.
Call them classic. Antique is not politically correct.
Not for me.
Your ability to stock certain parts and being able to do classic vehicles is also a benefit.
Yes.
But Of course, acquiring product for those transmissions is not always easy.
It's just about as difficult as fixing new cars as well.
Have you run into anything specifically challenging on some of the newer vehicles, or has it just been a normal progression?
Every vehicle could be a challenge, and if you get lucky, it works out perfect.
When you're hooking up scanners, you have different types of scanners?
We utilize at least 3 different scanners here currently.
Okay. And they all have certain limitations, I would assume.
Limitations, benefits, you know, Autel, Snap-on, Auto Ingenuity, VAGCOM. So all the different scanners have a place.
Gotcha.
And not every scanner works on any car.
There has been a noticeable shift in when you do transmission repair, whether you do it in-house or outsource it. And when I outsource it, whether you buy a cutout from a boneyard, you buy something from a dealer, or even get something in the aftermarket as far as remanufactured, do you find certain circumstances that you choose not to do it in-house?
We look at the overall picture of the job. We feel real comfortable rebuilding just about any transmission. It all comes down to the liability issues, how the vehicle's been driven, what type of application it's for, if it's going across country or if it's staying local.
So what the overall usage will somewhat dictate what you do.
Correct. And you know, the profitability standpoint, we want to make as much money as we can on every car.
Sure.
Buying units is only going to reduce that opportunity.
Right.
But liability also contributes to it.
Right. Well, the upside is you at least have the flexibility to make that decision whether to build in-house or to outsource the job, meaning getting something over the counter. And that is something you have to do on a case-by-case basis.
Correct.
Okay, well, Rick, I certainly appreciate you sitting down with us, discussing your history in the business. Good luck in your endeavor, and thanks for talking.
Mike,